Great job on the offensive end. Halpert up ahead for Leifer. Leifer open for the alley-oop for Terrell. Oh my goodness!
Incredible intro.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I think we're live. It's been way too long. Way too long since we've seen all your smiling faces. And excited to be here. Incredibly excited to be here with Jack Terrell, the man, the myth, the legend, soon to be Rec League Hall of Famer. Which I'm sure we'll get to at some point in this conversation.
I'm repping my jersey for the TBC Summer Leagues just so that the Hall of Fame voters at the Jewish Heritage Hall of Fame could understand. If there's a Hall of Fame, I saw the inductee list for the most recent one, and I thought there's some people on there. I don't know. I may as well throw my name in that race. I have 4 Rec League titles. What if I get to 11? They're all Jewish leagues. Is that something that I can put my name in the hat for?
I feel like coming off Mahomes in the Super Bowl, this is the next chase that we're looking for, really. Like, this is the next best thing out there that fans are really going to rally around. I have my jersey here already because even though we're under our light, we're under our madness, we're also here with Ariel Adler, now, professional. We'll just call him the professional. I think that's a good enough nickname going forward. He has all the right moves, and he sees all still hanging in the back. We've been chatting about this season for a long time, but I think it's a pleasure to have you, Ariel, on the program as always. Love the cheese in the back.
Ariel the professional, like the movie. Is he a hitman?
Exactly. We don't know. He's got exactly the demeanor that keeps you guessing.
Ariel, the professional. It's a hitman. All right, man. This is great. It's great to see everybody back.
So we're sitting here. Listen, we're sitting here on the eve, right, of the tip-off of Macs 2024 playoffs, right? Playoffs for the Skyline Conference and honestly playoffs for the entire D3 for the most part. There are some leagues that have finished up really as it leads into the tournament. But I think for most people, right, as I think y'all have received the same messages I have, right, for the past 3-4 months, right, of the YU basketball season is, hey, where the ball bottom, right? Where are those guys, right? We got to know them over the last couple of years, rotating crop. Where's the Ari Lamb intros? Where are all the things that the ball bottom have become known for? And really just to be able to, get people entertaining of all ages. I had, kids, adults, and then some senior citizens come up to me through the past couple of months asking, hey, what do you got? What's the inside scoop? What's going on? And I think that the reality is I'd like to sort of start out with this. I know for me, and I know for many others, as we talked about this, it's been a couple things going on with us, really, but it's, a microcosm of probably what's going on across the board for Jewish personalities or Jewish conversations, which is everything we talk about, everything that we are interested in, everything we're passionate about is really underscored by what is going on. What took place on October 7th and the following war in Israel that's going on right now, the need for our hostages to come home and all the things that are taking place. And I think it's tough to understand. It has been tough for me personally, and I'd love to sort of open up to you guys. But it's been really tough, right, to be able to say, hey, I'm passionate about this thing, but that's great. This is sort of a side gig, right? The main gig in the world right now is what's going on in Israel, what's going on with our brothers and sisters. I've been saying for a long time, it's not us here supporting the war that the Israelis are going through. It's our war, right? It's about us. It's about the Jewish people. It's about the nation. I'll talk in it a little bit later. Even in my professional career now, this is something that's 24/7 I'm involved in. So for me, it's been mentally very challenging to be able to find the space to be able to fit this in, and not just the podcast, but really just the love for it, the passion that we have for it. So I throw it out to you guys, to talk about sort of what it's been like, because I think even coming back into this, we don't want to pretend that we flip the switch, right? Somewhere sort of back in this, our heart and our minds really are still every day and every minute with our people and with the soldiers, with the families that are on the front lines and with the hostages and everybody else. But this has been even cathartic for us in the WhatsApp chat, right? To have something else to focus on, and something else that gives us pride in being Jewish, like the Macs have always done for us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Ben Shapiro, I would obviously am a fan of his podcast. He said it pretty well that, each of us in the Jewish community have someone that we lost with one degree of separation. And I don't think that even has to do with, you don't even have to be ultra Orthodox or ultra flag on your chest prior to October 7th Zionistic. We all have someone like that. My ex-wife's one of her high school crushes was killed. I knew him. We used to make jokes when he'd walk in stroll. He's like, I was like, oh, there he goes. And we used to laugh and chuck up about that. And he was a soldier, and he fought and he passed away. And then and it's very hard for a lot of people. But I think some of the beautiful things about this Mac season is that it was launched around the time of this happened. And I think Elliot and the team has done a terrific job in both representing the importance of these Jewish issues to a broader D3 audience, to teams that are coming in and through Max Live and teams that watch it, and through their humanitarian and philanthropic efforts. Whereas playing overseas, being there with Elliot did with the team over there, wearing the different Craig Sager, flamboyant-esque shirts, but obviously with the purpose behind them. It kind of makes you proud to, they make you proud to root for the Macs every time they step on the court, but every time you see what they represent and what they fight for, it just makes you even more proud.
Yeah, completely agree.
Well,
completely agree. I think when the season is starting, like when the first game, I'm like, could I do this? Are we going to be into this? Like, what are we doing here? Then you realize what the Macs are about. They're about, Jewish pride. That's why I'm not a big basketball guy. I'm a Jewish, pride guy. And that's why I watch them. That's why I'm into them. And that's why I decided to, I think I watched every game this year. And I think what they've been doing it's been incredible. What Elliot's been doing, the team really has been doing. The trip to Israel was amazing. It was extremely positive trip, and they did a lot of things. And the team, obviously, like a lot of the guys are from Israel. They have people that they know that were kidnapped, that were killed. It's been, I'm sure it's as hard as it is for us, but I'm sure it's even harder for them. And what they've been able to do this season, it's been pretty incredible, and to see, and the davening before games and everything about it. It's been a great. It's maybe not on the court, like everything's been the way exactly you want it, but like in terms of everything else, like you can't, it's been very important for what they did this year, what they've been doing this year.
Yeah. To me, it's, I'll be honest, I'm going to have trouble, and I hope it doesn't change, honestly, in the future seasons. I can't, it's almost become, Jack, to your point, like, I don't think I can see Elliot anymore without the shirt and the shoes. It's like become part and parcel. And we've always said, listen, we've talked to Elliot. I've obviously had the experience of knowing Elliot for many, many years. But really, I think our audience and ourselves have gotten to know him even more, whether it's on the show and whether hearing from him elsewhere. Right? He's always been someone who wears his heart on his sleeve. He is, whether it's people following him on X, and other communications, and knowing that he is a stalwart for the state of Israel, for the Jewish people, and that's been just as incredible, right, off the court, probably more so than it has been on the court. So it's just really it's a tremendous honor to stay connected to the Macs, and that's for us. I think it's just it continues to be a burgeoning passion. To be able to talk about it, to be able to connect. And I think it's been much more real, right? The Israelis, right, on the team, the folks who've had families. And I think this extends both to the men's team and to the women's team as well, just knowing that they're, after practice, staying up till midnight so they can talk to their families, right? Especially during the early days when that was really about making sure people were okay, to continuing and making sure and understanding a number of them with families, like you said. It's definitely one degree less of separation for all of us, but especially those in Israel, especially those with family that are there. I had the fortune actually of crossing over. We were I was in Israel on a mission with my shul and Teaneck Shari Tefillah right before the Macs came. Actually almost extended just to stay for the game, but needed to get back. But it's just been unbelievable to experience Israel. God willing, I'll be heading back there in a few weeks as well. I think the amount of strength that we give. I said when I went there, the thing that blew me away was, among other things and among the places and spaces, was I knew going that I would be strengthened and hardened by going there. But I had no idea that I could actually give Israelis strength. I tell you, I can't even count on two hands the amount of hugs I got from Makolet, guys, owners, and just people on the street, people on the bus, saying you're crazy for being here, but we love you for being here, right? Just giving them strength during that time, which blew me away. So I continue to be just in awe of the people that keep continuing to go back, right? Taking congregants, again, the rabbin and others have been just tremendous in taking people mission after mission, and Elliot making a priority. I know we, in years past, we've been all about like Bruce Pearl, right? And teams and folks who go over there from college basketball. And we love what Athletes for Israel and some of the other guys are doing. But really this year, more than ever before, has been just a tremendous, tremendous opportunity, and taking a lot of, honestly, a lot of flack, right? Like, thank God. Don't read the Twitter comments. Don't read the other comments. There is just an
we had a lot of Twitter
hate.
attacks.
Yeah, I mean, there's just an unrelenting amount of hate. Listen, Elliot puts himself out there. Coach Steinmetz puts himself out there and is injects himself into the conversations. When truth needs to be stated, which is unfortunately very often. And so there's a lot of hate back and forth. I'll be honest. I throw it out to you guys. I mean, I've watched the games. I've talked to some of the coaches. I talked to some of the players throughout the season. I'm actually pleasantly surprised, especially considering just the amount of, without any situation, the amount of anti-Semitism faced, and things said by players throughout the games. That I thought there'd be a lot more protests, people in the stands, a lot more direct things. And I actually throw it out to the coaches and the Skyline Conference, really for making sure that that's something that hasn't shown up. I haven't heard about it. I don't know if you guys have anything to the contrary, but I'm actually surprised about that.
I think I spoke to my dad about, you're in Hollywood and there's got to be so many people. I think a lot of people we're lucky that we're in an era that's, and both unlucky. We're in an era that has more access to information, and to that has more access to misinformation. So that's the flaw of it. But also it's an era of people that are more informed. And I think people are, whether you agree with me or not, I think President Berman's done a terrific job with some of this awareness spreading. So giving a shout out to that, to the institution itself.
Absolutely.
But the people are informed of the atrocities of Hamas and what they're about, and they understand that even if you don't feel like what Netanyahu has done, even certainly prior to the attack, Israel having its greatest security failure in perhaps in its history, but even if you aren't a fan of that, you understand the dangers and the atrocities and the seriousness of this hostage situation. And you wouldn't, even if you were an anti-Semite behind closed doors or a racist on a keyboard, I think to have the unmitigated gall to go out and say it in person, it's not something that you want to out yourself as, especially with people are now informed. They understand Hamas is a terrorist organization. They seek to do evil. They don't have a lot of good qualities that you can get behind. Like even, man, it's comparing apples to oranges really, like Antifa, right? They do some crazy stuff, but like, all right, they stand for something, right? Yeah, Hamas is just death and destruction, and there's nothing really you can get it behind. At the end of the day, it's basketball is basketball. Ball trumps all. So people come out there, they want to beat the Macs, not because they're Jews necessarily. They want to beat them because it's a ball game. And the Macs want to beat you, not because you're not Jews, but they're doing. We're trying to win ball games here. We're trying to continue a legacy. That Elliot has done a great job of forthcoming. And I'll kick it to Ariel if he wants to have any more words on that. But I have to say something about this team that I really like to bring it full circle into basketball. This team kind of reminds me of 2018. I mean, they have a really kind of strong starting five. They have guys that can get hot, right? What happens in 2018 was Justin Hode. He goes 6 for 6 for 3, and they win Skyline. Farmingdale loses. We play Purchase instead, right? Things fell in the right direction. Justin Hode, is he a better college player than Gov Landau or Adi? I don't know. But this is the kind of team that things can fall in the right way, and we pull out a championship. But things got to fall. But we're young. We'll see where they go. But I'll toss it to Ariel.
Yeah, I'm on the basketball. Yeah, I think this team definitely has what it takes. Obviously the injuries have been an issue for this team, but talent-wise, this is as talented as almost as we've been. I mean, we're all the team is basically all second years in terms of eligibility. This team is young. They're developing. I think, we knew Zevi was great. We knew, Max, what he brought, and then Orrs, when he's extremely talented, and like a freak athlete, has size. Like there's probably no one in the Skyline who could stop him, honestly. And then Dotan, who's just been incredible this year. His improvement. We were talking about it last year about, we see something there, but he wasn't putting it all together. But this year he's been incredible. He's shooting 40%. He's defending really well, improving on the rebounds, pounding it inside. He's been more confident, and he's been a huge improvement. And I think this team is probably more talented, honestly, than the team that won the Skyline the first year.
Yeah, they might be.
I think, I think for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem obviously is that they haven't been able to be on the court right at the same time. I think if we, even Yoav's early injury aside, if we really just talk about the three-headed monster, and by the way, like Dothan is like a hair's breadth away from making it a four-headed monster. I mean, really,
I think he's there. He's by next year for sure he'll be there. Yeah.
By far the most improved player on this team, and it's not like small little gains in almost every aspect of the game. And where he excelled when he came in was that passing ability, right? That court vision and seeing it. And now it seems to really understand his role, being able to solidify on the defense. Again, he's not a shot blocker. He's never intended to be. He's not that same presence that we may have had over the past, I would say years before last year. But his leadership, his ability to create buckets when he needs it, go one-on-one against some of the big men in this conference has been unbelievable. But really, like, how many games have Max or and Zevi played together? It can't be more than 7 or 8 on the schedule. Maybe if I'm running, maybe 10 for the year. So it's a little bit tough, right? It's the talent, like you said, is so significant, and the depth, right? We've talked about this now for a couple of years. The depth is significant. I mean, even the folks off the bench, when you have Yoav healthy, when you have, again, Roy was coming off the bench, sort of working his way back through, you have so much talent on, in terms of offensive and defensive players knowing their role. And just, we haven't been able to see those lineups put together, right? Haber's had flashes. There's some other players in there have been fantastic in those roles. But it's really hasn't been something that unfortunately have been able to get this year. It's a simple.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, big players make big plays in big games. They step up in big moments, right? That's what separates the big players from the ones that don't, right? And that's something that you hear across sports as they shrink in the moment. I want to call a challenge out to a guy who I think is a tremendous amount of potential. I think enough potential to be a 5th crown on this team. That we're talking about the 3 that are clearly over there, and that's Roy Ikevici, who I think smart, talented. His body is there, but I think I know he's coming back from an injury. He has some opportunity here from now until Tuesday. I know it's not a lot of time. I guess the game is tomorrow, but I'm kind of calling out my man Roy here to lock in, focus here, and step up and have a big game. That doesn't mean it has to be on offense, by the way. A big game and making big plays where you're just focused in on the game. I think he has the most. They're going to need it from everybody, right? They're going to need it with Max. He's coming back. He's coming off an injury. Zevi, is going to bring it, and Doton's going to do his thing. Roy, in my opinion, is kind of a wild card. If we talk about a Justin Ho type, a guy who could come off the bench and randomly have that game. If we look at one guy on this team, it's probably him. I'm calling him out to say, hey, you're a sophomore. Your freshman year, we had big expectations that maybe were unfair. And you came off an injury year too. But use this moment to catapult yourself into a summer, into a long playoff run, into a summer where you realize, hey, I have an opportunity to be an all-time player. This coaching staff has faith in me, and I have a great body. I'm 190. I'm 6'5".
And build up last game, right? Build up last game, right? The foundation of
that's
probably one of
the
his
last
best
time he
games.
played. The last time he played, it was last week. He played Mount St. Vincent, who we're playing. He scored 27 points, 12 rebounds. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's his job. They're gonna play a 2-3 zone. He's gonna have that mid-range
right. That
wide
short
open.
mid-range game is his game.
His shot. He does everything. He defends well. He could rebound. He's a clutch player.
This is the kind of player that he could be.
Yeah, no, he's not gonna be the Zevi, scoring 30, easily every game, but he could do a little bit of everything. He's the kind of guy, like a glue guy, kind of you need on every team. He's clutch. He's hit the big basket against Maritime to tie the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's another way to use him also. I mean, if he straightens out his hair, he could be a Max decoy. They could think Max is back. Just curve that down. I mean, unless Ariel, you're gonna play that role during practice, but we need that other redhead to get in there and make them think there's a shirt around the QB1 somewhere in there. Or keep them guessing.
I'm all for Ariel dressing as Roy or Max. I'm on that board, but if it's not the case, like I look at him and I think of like Jonathan Kuminga for the Warriors, right? They didn't really know how to use him, right? It was very awkward at the beginning of the season, and maybe it was like that for Roy with Orr coming in and taking those starting minutes, and how do I fit in? And now the Warriors have kind of realized how to use him, and he went on this string where he's scoring 25, and he's doing a lot of things. No, he's not Zevi, but I look at him as someone who could average 16 to 18 points and launch off that last game into this great career that you have right in front of you. Has so much potential. So I'm calling out to my man Roy, who I care about very much. I know personally very well, to come up and step up. But here's the time, the moment to shine. And I'm interested to see what
we got you on mute, but no, I apologize. I think for me, I forgot to mention Effie right in this mention as well when we talk about the depth of the team and sort of what he brings. Who in your mind, I guess, as you think about tomorrow night, right? And you think about, because there are two big questions for me, right? Is one, you had, before the slide, right? Let's say in the last, a nice win at the end of the game, maybe helped by, some, sort of, I would say brain freezes at the end of the game, calling a timeout when you don't have one. Again, it rarely happens, but it does happen, and getting that win was huge. What do you think the offense looks like? Right? Because it was clear to me, at least in the beginning of that game, and even towards the middle of the game, that we're trying to figure out if we could work Orr right back in the one-on-one. Orr is definitely a presence. His intensity is huge, the way he plays defense, but he had a lot of rust, right? A lot of rust, not just in terms of moves, right? Post moves that we saw earlier in the season be much smoother, and completely understandably so, but also a significant amount of turnovers, right? Not knowing where the next player is going to be, where the next pass should go, being aware of that. Now, again, practice helps, and there are more practice days leading up to this. So the first question that I have is really, what do you think we see tomorrow from an offensive standpoint? if the lineup is the same as it was in the last game? What do you think we see more of what we saw in the last 10 games, which was a Zevi heavy lineup, or do you think we see a little bit more of what we saw last game?
I think I think I would be. I assume Mount St. Vincent's going to play a zone because it worked well the last time we played last week, which I think could help us because then it's not the same motion where it's less movement. It's more. I think it'll be a little bit easier for Orr to work himself in there. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And I think Zevi's had a tough last couple of games. He hasn't been, scoring, like he could. It would, and I'm sure that Mount St. Vincent, like they did last week, they're going to really focus on him. So we're going to need other guys to step up. And last time we played Mount St. Vincent, Dotan and Roy played really well. Just Zevi, didn't have it. But you really need everyone to step up. You need Effie to step up. Like to see Yoav do his thing. We're gonna have a big size advantage in this game. They are not a big team, and we're gonna need to pound them. There's a lot of we'll see what happens, but I think we have a good chance. I think with Orr. I mean, end of the day, he's a playmaker. He makes big plays, and I think it's definitely a big positive that he's back.
Yeah, you know what? This team isn't going to win the championship if they can become too Zevi-centric. They've never in their history, even when they've had the greatest team of all time and the greatest scorer of all time in Ryan, the team wasn't scoring too Ryan-centric, right? If you remember those games where they're pulling off those 50 wins, Ryan's shooting 15 shots. Eitan's eating, Ofek's eating, Bar was eating, Gabe is eating, Simcha's eating, and then later on you had Lasko and you had Zucker. Ryan had 13 points in the championship win, right? Zucker had 12 and Gabe. Now, sometimes you need points where Ryan or Zevi has 30. But if we're too Zevi-centric, we're not winning. It's going to rely on everyone getting together. That's to begin with. I've never been, and as a matter of fact, unless, and that's only because if you're running the motion, right? I am been outwardly kind of a critic of motion or death. Especially against teams that have seen it for 6 straight years in Farmingdale, who, like, okay, what's your counter to it? I'm open about that. I'm willing to argue with anyone on it, especially we have the 2 best guards, arguably in D3. Why are we moving the ball out of their hands? But all right, fine. But if you're going to run it, right, everyone, it's got to go through everyone. It cannot be Orr-centric. Can't be Zevi-centric. It's not an easy offense. So it makes sense that Orr comes back as a first-year person with it and is a little rusty. His reads are split second slow. If they're split second slow, that's going to be a turnover, right? That makes all the difference. We'll see. I'm curious to see what goes on.
So
but
who do you
should help what they're doing.
Because Ariel, listen, there's a lot of reason to feel good about the game tomorrow night. I plan to be there in person. To making it a priority tomorrow night. I think it's important for the team to see the support, right, which we know is tapered off. I really feel like because, again, of that split sort of world that we're living in, I don't think it's a drop off. Hey, we're waiting for the team. This has been an exciting team, and I really think it's just the realities of where we are. But you made a great point. Listen, this is not a big team. There are many times we've talked about not just last year, right, and this year, years before, about the rebounding, right, and then you look at both games, right, against Mount St. Vincent so far this year. The first game, which we won by 14 earlier in the season, rebounds were basically even, right? They outrebounded us by 3. The game we lost, last week, they won by 8. We out-rebounded them by 9. So, meaning it's not, and to have Orr back, right? To have Orr back, that to me only increases the margin. They are not a big team. They do not have a big player, and they really don't have guys that go up against it. So there's a lot of reasons to feel good, whichever way the offense goes. Zevi's been played pretty well. He played really well. Obviously, in the first game, Max was the second leading scorer, and that's really what they have to start to replace. Where do you see that tomorrow night coming from? Because obviously, Roy's not going to take them by surprise this game after a nice 27 performance, as you mentioned. Who do you think can have a really great contribution? If it's the lineup that we saw the last game, right? If it's really, seeing what we saw last game, you think it's going to be in the size and the Yoav? You think it'll be, Effie sort of playing that role and finding his spots? Where do you guys see sort of that one or two players that, we expect Zevi to give us 20. We expect Orr is going to have 18, 15, whatever it might be, get some rebounds. Where else do you see after that right now?
I think it's going to be a very just balanced game. I think they're going to really focus on Zevi. This team, I don't know if you remember last year, they played a box one on Zevi. So they've even
Huge
when he was, they've always focused on Zevi, and which makes sense. He's extremely talented. So you're really going to need like those games against like the game we had in Manhattanville where it was spread the scoring, everyone's scoring, Yoav's scoring, Effie. You just need everyone to step up. It's the playoffs. That's what it's going to be. I think I could see Dotan. I could see all the bigs. Dotan, Yoav. I think Orr is going to be a big presence because he's really big also, and they're not going to be able to have anyone to stop him. So I think it's going to be a lot of guys. I'm not expecting Zevi to score 30 tomorrow night. It's going to be the other guys.
I'm not expecting that box in one either, because I think with Orr, there are too many guys that can go to the cup on their own that I think they leave too many gaps. And we saw it with Troy. He basically could shoot any mid range he wanted, and that's when they were keying. And now you have a dynamic player in Orr now who they play, right? Who they know from the first game of the season, even if he didn't light them up. What do you see going on, Jack, in terms of that side of the ball? And we can talk about sort of defensively what may be maybe the big area that really matters, right? When the Macs make their runs in the playoffs, usually it's because they decided and committed as a team to team defense. So let's talk a little bit about first, who do you see stepping up on either side?
I would love to talk about defense, but I'm not here. I'm here to make honest takes to the best of my ability. I care about everybody on that team, and I'm a huge fan of Elliott as a coach. He's the best coach I've ever played for, and the most successful coach in the program's history. That's championships winning percentage. That's factual. Those are stats. In terms of rebounding, I think you're right. They don't have Gabe Leifer to just swallow rebounds that I think they've been able to kind of coast on. And Zucker was an incredible rebounder, very underrated, very good rebounder. So they had this lucky stretch where they went from Leifer into Zucker, and now I think they got to kind of switch their mentality. I think Elliott liked the leak out. He liked to have, and in my year we had Mike Berg, Shelby Rosenberg, Shia Weiss, three really good rebounders. We don't have that on this team. Orr is pretty good rebounder, but I think they really need to make sure, as part of defense, the defense ends with when you get the rebound. There needs to be a gang rebound. We already run a motion offense, which is a phenomenal half-court set, right? That motion is best set half-court. You're moving. Obviously, you want to advance the ball and be running, right? You want transition offense, but it's not run and gun. It's not 7 seconds or less D'Antoni ball, right? You got to secure that rebound. 5 guys need to box out, find their man. And this isn't just for this game we're about to play. We want to go deep against Farmingdale, which was the game I was at. 5 guys need to box out and get a rebound. 5 guys need to find their man. Gobland, when he gets in, he's as strong as an ox. Box out. Dotan Bardachev, you ain't out jumping anybody, right? Respectfully, you'll be the first to admit it. Get your butt on a guy's knee, move him out. I like this guy, Yoav, a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential. I've liked everything I've seen from him in the small minutes. I think he could be a great rim runner once he adjusts to the speed of the game. A great finisher he could be, potentially, with the 2 guards that we have. Got to box out. And we also have to make a decision as a team. Like, defense wins championships. I know in today's NBA, offense does, but nobody is as talented as a team with Jason Tatum and Drew Holiday and Dame Lillard and Giannis. And defense wins championships. We decide that we want to win. We need to make an effort. Are we just going to let guys blow by? And if we're going to let guys blow by, at least we can't give up both layups and threes, right? Make a decision.
This is the area. I think this is the area to me, right? So I think we don't talk about it enough, right? And I think what we saw early on, right? It's like intensity, having that shutdown defender, and this is maybe an area where we haven't seen. I think, as much as I think Gav and more so Adi have actually stepped up, Adi specifically, right, in sort of the absence of folks. What you lose when Max goes out, as opposed to in addition, right, to the dynamic offensive player, is you lose that on-ball defender who makes it difficult both for the point guard to run the offense, find angles, and penetrate. And we're back to a point where we know over the past number of years, especially playing someone like a Farmingdale and others, right? Manhattanville with their great guard play. Once you can drive the middle on us, right, the breakdowns start to happen a little bit. So being able to protect that on ball at the top of the key initiating offense, have not seen that at all across the board, and that has led significantly. The thing that blew me away in the Mount St. Vincent recent game was there really were only two guys hitting shots, and yet they always found themselves open for three. Sometimes maybe 2 or 3 feet behind, but there weren't anybody else really attacking the offense and really putting the ball in the basket. And yet there wasn't this commitment to be right face guard on the ball, because maybe they're not coming. Listen, we know that's not a Zevi right calling card, right? It's not going to be a face guard, hand in the face piece. There were only a few guys on the team that'd be able to do this. You talked about Hode earlier on, right? That's where you start to see these guys come off the bench and make those plays. We really don't have that off the bench player this year who is committed to the defensive side of the ball or can take someone out of the game. It just doesn't exist right now. And that's what worries me as we get deeper. I don't see it being a threat here. I'm not even sure, God willing, we get past this first round. I'm not sure I even see it no matter who we play coming out of the 3-6 matchup, even though I think weirdly USMMA may have some better guard play than Manhattanville overall, because they run a different style of offense. They attack the basket more, I would say, than Manhattanville in that standpoint. But it's gonna, obviously everyone knows this, right? I'm shocked. Although I love St. John's, Long Island being the matchup, everyone's gonna be shocked, right? Farmingdale is a team that not only should win the Skyline or can win the Skyline, you can see them winning 1, maybe even 2 games in the next round if they go that far. They were really built solid 1 through 7, 1 through 8 in everybody that can contribute, especially with some new talent this year. So that's going to be the play, but you got to win the first 2 games. I think that to me is one of the biggest holes. That defensive on ball. How do we play and stop people from running what they want to run? Because it seems like no matter what, every night we're not stopping offenses from getting to the places they want to get to on their offense, and we're just relying on whether they miss shots or not.
I'm so glad you said. I couldn't agree with you more. And hey, Ryan, I can't. I just called him out, but someone called a statistic that when YU went on their run and they won the championship, right? When they went on the 50-game run, their defense was ranked. Their offense was ranked like 1 or 2 or whatever it was, and their defense was ranked like 60th. And right now, their defense is ranked in the 400s.
300, yeah. There's
400
teams.
Right?
There's 400 teams, yeah. So they're
in the 300s.
Like 3, yeah.
So a part of it, look, call me out and I'll call whoever it was and I'll get the stats. But I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. Take this personally. I want you to not talk to me when you're at YU and I say hello. I want you to be mad at me, but I want you to take it personal on the court. Take it personal. Defense is all heart, effort, and angles. You need to walk into the game with it. Man, I don't want to say it. The letter after G, ABC. No, the letter before G, GU attitude with some of these Gers that you're playing against. Like, this Ger isn't going to score on me. Heck no. Like, this is personal. Like, I'm with my heart on the line, on my sleeve. Like, you're not scoring. This is my guy. Someone's got to step up. Now, there's a few guys on the team that I think do that to an extent, right? Adi certainly is not afraid of any defensive matchup. Govlandau certainly not afraid. Max certainly not afraid. And others that, slip in my head, and I apologize if I miss some. Sure, call me out. That's fine. Problem, Adi and Gov are seniors. What are we going to do next year? But forget about next year. Let's talk about this year. Someone's got to step up and decide. We could score. We could score. If we really want to win, someone's got to make a decision. We want to win. We got to be Gers on the defensive end and shut teams down.
Who are you looking for that to be, Ariel? Tomorrow, who do you see being able to be the defensive leader on the team? Again, someone that's going to be in the game, right? Someone that's going to be there for a good stretch of time.
I think he's a disruptor on defense. The first time we played Mount St. Vincent, he had like 8 or 9 steals. I think he wreaks havoc on the defensive, and I think he had the big steal on Saturday night. He just makes plays. I think he has that attitude, like you're not going to do what you, whatever, after G, whatever you want to call it. He has that attitude where he's just not going to let it happen. And I think he's going to have to make plays. They need to communicate well. I think that's been the issue. I think for part of it, that's part of the issue at least. But I think they have been improving. It's not where it needs to be, but the defense has been a little bit better from a point it has been earlier in the year. It has. We've seen improvements. I think we've seen more zones. I think I like that approach. Like mix it up for try to just mix it up against the team. That it works against us a lot when teams like throw a press at us. I like to see it. We did a really good job against Maritime with a press. It won us the game. I'd love to see that. Just throw it in, just surprise them, force a turnover, get an easy basket. Things like that I think would help. We don't need to play flawless defense. It doesn't need to be like that, but it needs to be. You can't let Kabazudo, he's a really good player.
Talented player.
Yeah, he's probably one of the best players in the Skyline. He's a really good player. You can't let him have his way with like he did at the end of the game last week.
Yeah, I'm not sure some of the other players are gonna play as well. I think it was Agamang or some of the other guys who had maybe sort of a career night, right, in some of the other threes that were hit. But Orr does bring that intensity, which is great to see. I think that's why Max and he complement each other so well. They really don't let up on either side of the ball. They're as intense on offense and defense. Great memory, by the way. Eight steals he did have. He also had 3 blocks that game, so he had 1 less steal than the entire Mount St. Vincent's team. He really is a disruptor, and because I think this suits him well, because there isn't that big presence. He's the kind of guy, those 8 steals, if I recall, like he gets to play free safety sometimes, right? Sometimes it's in a one-on-one situation. But he has really a great sense of where he should be on the defense. I also want to say, I think going back to someone we haven't focused on, obviously someone who came on the scene last year and we were blown away, by the shooting percentage of 3 and even started this year. But Effie, when he doesn't have to think about, I may have to score 10 tonight, he really focuses on defense. 100%. And he is one of the best individual defenders on the team. And I really that has been missing for me, because I just think he's been put in different positions because we don't have our lineup, and he's had to both not just think about offense, but also be somewhat out of position from where he would typically be on defense, because everybody has to play a size up. I'd like to see Orr being back actually free him up. I really expect that tomorrow night. I actually think he's going to make 2 or 3 defensive plays that are going to not just get the crowd going, but really make changes to the game. I think he was doing that even at the beginning of the season until he had to start to fill some of those roles.
He had the big block. He had the big block against Maritime.
So beautiful that you said Effie Friendlich, because this is the kind of guy with the length and the athleticism. He tries to dunk on you every time he goes up, right? That's the kind of length, athleticism, and attitude that is perfect to have that kind of. Effie, instead of trying to dunk on you, why don't you know what's even more demoralizing? Shutting a guy down for an entire night, owning him with your length, athleticism, bothersome, Artest-like kind of long arms, Tony Allen. If he, with Max back and Orr back, with that pressure lift him off him to do that, if he could accept in his mind, perfect, what I'm going to do is make this guy's life, whatever my assignment's, a living hell. He is going to go home thinking about this game for the rest of the summer. We might end with Orr, as you guys mentioned, having that potential. He's very charismatic. He's definitely a leader to lead the charge defensively, right? If it has to start with kind of a star or an energy guy like Effie, those 2 guys come through, I think we could see the changes that we need to go, okay, maybe this team could make a Skyline run, right? I think that was a great call. Effie Friendlich is a perfect guy.
I think these next 2 games, and by the way, we have it's funny because I'm almost guilty. I'm guilty of this myself. I don't know this, today you guys as well. But we started talking about like who the most improved player this season is, and we definitely talked a little bit. But the truth is, like, Dotan's a presence. Like he still is. I expect that, especially tomorrow night, to be a presence. He's actually picking his spots. We didn't talk about this a lot, but he's picking his spots on when he shoots the 3. Right? His game is so much improved, and especially on the offensive end, that he's not relying right on that too much. He's actually picking more moments right at the beginning of the game depending on where we are at the end of the game. At least that's what it feels like to me. So you have those guys who, I expect his minimum double and really to really keep that team. He is now, to me, a leader of the team. I mean, just de facto being one of the only guys who's been in there every single game, right? They're not many of those guys right now who have been able to step up there. He and Zevi we expect, who has also picked up, right? Zevi is rebounding at a fantastic clip, right? So we're seeing a lot of things. He's not, again, on ball shut you down defender, but he also is in the right spaces. He's made a significant effort in improving rebounding. Who, from a minute standpoint, just talk to me from what you think, because now we've seen a lot of rotations. I have heard that someone mentioned on the chat here. I don't know. I don't expect Max to be back tomorrow night. Honestly, I don't think we need him. So even if he was, 50-50, I wouldn't see it. So unless there's been some improvement, around him, I'm not sure if he will be. But even so, who do you think plays the minutes? Right. The question that was asked on the chat is, when you look at Effie, Gav, Adi, Yoav, me, like, let's pretend for a minute that we're almost back to full strength. How do those minutes get divvied up? Do you think we see a lot of? And by the way, I think the second most improved player, weirdly enough, in my book, is maybe Roden. Like, I mean, he's actually worth playing on the court. He's okay. Like, I think it's not the same improvement. I mean, it's a different level, but he's a guy I would put in the rotation to steal minutes for Zevi. He's a guy I would put there to steal 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there. But who plays tomorrow? Like, what is the minute cap of Yoav? Yoav doesn't seem to play 30 minutes. I mean, I expect Dotan to play, unless he gets into foul trouble, right? I expect him to be playing 35 minutes. I expect Zevi to be playing 35 minutes. Where are the other minutes do you see? Is or on a minutes count, depending on the game. Do you see these other guys getting the minutes? Like, where do you see that divvy up in this lineup?
It's value over replacement. I think, first off, it's a great question, especially with everybody back and everybody having gotten minutes throughout the year. And the fact of the matter is that playoffs, you get cut to 7 people. And this is super valuable because I think this falls, one of the reasons we lose to Johns Hopkins those years ago was because he cut his 7 to, I think, the wrong 7. In a sense that when the game got tight and they decided we're taking away X, are we going to put in Y? So they took away the shooting. They said, Ofek, you're now going to be a 3-point shooter. Zucker, you're going to be a 3-point shooter. And instead of like adjusting and saying, okay, what's my value over replacement? Can I put Y in the game and putting in maybe Max Leibowitz, seeing if he could hit a shot, putting in maybe I'm trying to Oren Batesh, right? He was on that team. We know he could hit a shot, right? So instead of doing that, I mean, Steinman stuck to his guns.
I remember, both being at that game and watching it. I think in the minutes that Oren was in that game, I cannot tell you that I remember him having more than a foot of separation. I mean, they knew who to take and they knew who to slough off of, right? I mean, they weren't letting anybody get there, but it was a great. The point was there was no other angle. Meaning there was no other adjustment that was happening in terms of seeing if you could attack that a different way.
Even Max, I thought Max. Look, Matt, they gave Lasco a bunch of space because the numbers were bad,
Correct.
and I'm not sure.
And he actually played right. He played pretty well. He hit a couple big shots.
He's a good shooter. I'm not sure what Max's numbers were, but I'm just saying, if the answer to the question is, if we're gonna cut, I think this 5 of Yoav, and I know he's fresh, but Yoav, Dotan, now you have size, or a lot of size and skill. Max and Zevi is as strong a starting lineup as they've had, not including that 50-game win streak. That is a great starting 5. Now you're looking at your 2 bench players, and I think you can't get married to whoever your guys are. And I like, right now, it's Adi and Gav, and I love them, and they're the vets, and you got to rely on vets. But if Gav isn't shutting guys down, if Adi isn't shutting guys down or providing the leadership that he needs to do, dude, and I'll take a bullet for both these guys. If they got in a fight in a bar, I'd be the first one there swinging like 100%, and they know this, right? But I'll be honest.
You may have started the fight. I just want to be,
I might have been the one who started.
Right, 100%. Exactly. You may have. I don't think you threw the first punch, but you may have.
I might have thrown the first punch.
You may have instigated and then taken a couple steps back. I think that.
I saw Riefenstahl in the bar, and I couldn't get over it. 2019, but no, he's got to put in guys that are producing. Who are my value over replacement? So Zevi is sitting, and I'm not getting production out of this spot.
Okay, let's see if Effie could give us something. And if it can't be safe picks unless the replacement of the safe picks are a disaster. Right. So that's I know it seems complicated. It's kind of layered. Like, sorry, I know what I'm getting from my top guys. Am I getting that in production for my replacement? And if I'm not getting production, can I throw something out there that might get me production? Or will that be too much of a disaster? If it ends up that it's too much of a disaster and you have to go with just like safe, we're in trouble. We need to get value.
I think Ariel's going to go like with me on this, and I'll turn it over to him because I really want to see. Because to me, if Max is not there, right? Because I actually think the big question is like, again, if for some reason Max is back, and that would be tremendous, right? And it changes everything, even for a couple. But I really think the starting five, because of both the need for some balance on offense, right? I mean, Roy is really one of the only true threes. He's been playing with efficiency, and I think what in that situation you tend to see Yoav still coming off the bench. I think the starting five is then right, Adi, Zevi, Roy, Orr, and Dotan, right? I think that's what I see as the starting five coming out, and staying with what they stayed with. I see Yoav and Effie coming in really as those defensive, and Effie a little bit of that hybrid standpoint, two big subs. And then the question becomes how deep, right? How deep we go and how many minutes outside of that. It just depends on what kind of game it is. I actually really like, I think to Ariel's point, you can put you could put Effie on any of those guards, including Cabazudo. Again, he's incredibly quick, but I do think his length helps him. So if you make them play, right? If you make them play a game, ball feeding in, because you're covering the 3-point line, I really think they have a difficult time against the size and just the energy of that defense. And again, the ability to move around, I really think they have a tougher time scoring and making passes into tight spaces. That's not really what their offense is. That to me is the way we should play it, and that's what I like to see, and that's why to me I think that's where the focus is going to be. But Ariel, I'm very curious to think. I think there's going to be defensive subs with Effie and Yoav coming off the bench versus either one of them starting and making that presence. But curious to see where you think the focus of the lineup is.
I think it's going to be, from what I've seen this year and for the last few years, I think Elliott's just going to go with the hot hand. Like who's bringing it that night? He's not going to. I don't like the last 10 minutes. He's going to stick with those guys for as long as they could until one of them fouls out, or maybe they need a break because they're too tired. But I don't think that there's like, we're going to do this X, Y, and Z. I think it's going to be who's going to bring it. It's playoff basketball. Who has it tonight, and who's stepping up. I think those are the guys that are going to have the minutes. So I don't think it's hard to tell before. It's who's going to have it or not. And I think hopefully they all bring it. I really think they could. I think this team's up for it. I think it was a really important that they got the win against Maritime on Saturday night. They have the 2 seed. Honestly, those 4-game losing streak did not matter at all. They got the
exactly
2 seed,
right.
No matter what. Like who cares? Like it happened. Got out of your system. I think you're starting to get. You got to wear back now. We can make this happen. Who knows what's going to happen? The rest weird stuff happens in the Skyline playoffs. It really does. Farmdale's playing St. Charles, Long Island.
And there've been a lot of upsets. I mean, let's talk about that, right? Like the other matchups that are going on there. There definitely has been, and I think that the argument is it parity or is it regression, right? Meaning in some of these cases with what's going on around the conference this year outside of Farmingdale. I think we expected St. Joe's, Long Island to be better. I think we expected. First of all, we expected. I think some of the surprises. Purchase was I think better than expected. There were teams, even though they didn't make the playoffs. Manhattanville probably underperformed. USMMA with again senior good leadership, underperformed the guys that played. Maritime had that great streak last year. We thought they would sort of lean into that. As they started this year, and they still finished third, but everyone's finishing like around like that 9-6 bubble. That's still not anybody really playing with each other. So we have these matchups of USMA Manhattanville and the 3-6 matchup, which is who we play, right? The winner of Farmingdale, St. Joe's, Long Island, and then you have your 4-5 matchup, which is just to me one of the most intriguing matchups. With Sarah Lawrence, probably again also another team surprising, probably from what we know of them in the past, playing above their means. I mean they literally were almost the 2 seed, right? They were almost the 2 seed.
They had it. They had it. Yeah.
And they won the last game. So just a lot
crazy.
there. What do you expect to see there in terms of just some of the games, coming out?
Honestly, I feel like you didn't even know it. Like Farmingdale, obviously they're the favorite. Like they're one of the best teams in the Skylines. Like they really are. Like if you go back, I look back at like Massey ratings for the last 20 years. Like it's rare that they have a team in the top 100. Farmingdale's like a top 60, top 70 team this year. They're one of the best teams in Skyline history. I think, outside of our teams from like with Ryan and Gabe and everything like that, I think they're one of the best. That being said, they're playing St. Charles Long Island. Like they got the 1 seed and they got arguably like the 3rd most talented team that they have to play against with Malloy and Allen, who's been great, and Tabata. Like they're really talented. They've clearly, I don't know what happened to St. Charles Long Island. Like I don't know what happened in some of their games. Like they did not play very well, but they got in. Like that's what matters. And they should have beat them probably the first time they played in Farmingdale. Like they were leading most of the game. I watched a lot of that game, and they went into overtime the next game. So that's not an easy matchup for Farmingdale. Honestly, like I'm not going to feel bad for Farmingdale ever, but I don't feel bad for them now. But like honestly,
they lost the 2 regular season. I mean, they won 2 regular season matchups. The first game by 2, 65,
right,
63, and the second game in overtime, right?
Yeah,
so
and St. Charles, yeah, they won. They were leading most of that game. They had that game.
Right?
Yeah, so they could beat them. Like honestly, and the rest of the guy, I have no idea what's gonna like. It's crazy stuff happens in the Skyline, so it's hard to predict. Like people, you can say what you want about the Skyline. It's certainly not the UAA or the the ODAC or whatever like that. But there's a lot of Skyline tournament. Like it crazy stuff happens, and you never know who's gonna win. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 23-2 on the year, so there's obviously expectations.
Right.
Even though it's surprising. I mean, some would say, and you probably know the numbers, probably should look it up, first. But I'm not sure if YU's. I think their strength of schedule is probably better than Farmingdale overall, just in terms of the matchups they set up. So when you have a team like this, and you're preparing not just to win the Skyline, but likely preparing to be to be someone to reckon with and surprise in the NCAA tournament, I'm just surprised they didn't get more going on their schedule. Now, listen, they may have expected Wesleyan and some of the others who are typically strong teams to be stronger than they were this year. But still, I'm surprised they didn't have some of the bigger names on the schedule.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake. Like this is their year. Like they knew this. I think they were building for this year when we had our run. Like this team, like this is what they're building for. So yeah, they probably should have played better. Like they played Wesleyan, they played Ramapo.
Jersey City. I mean, not they played some,
NYU.
Almost a little.
Did they play? I don't think they played.
They didn't play NYU.
No, Manhattanville played them. Last year they did. Yeah, but not this. Yeah, but this year I feel like they should have probably, because they have their SOS is like 460 or something like that.
Yeah, they're not conference.
They're not.
I mean, it's not conference with Baruch and Union and.
Yeah, you can't play those. Yeah, you can't play those games.
There's no reason for them to be playing Baruch. Like, I mean, there's absolutely no reason. There's no value in that for them. So like things like that. I mean, again, this may be long-standing relationships in New York school. I really would have thought we'd have a little more. I hope we are playing them in the finals. Well, I mean, I hope we get something that happened a couple of years ago where we're playing a team that we've beaten handily a couple of times in the finals. But really, there's so much. Why I hope we play them in the finals is because I actually want to talk about the Farmingdale team. I mean, they really are a fantastic team with some fantastic players who really get the respect. A guy that I've always thought is the reason that we lose when we lose to Farmingdale is the way Powell plays when he plays us, and some of these guys that we are off the top. They're just really solid all the way through. And so we're definitely going to be paying close attention. Those games, by the way, all 3 other games tomorrow night, again, as folks may or may not know, the conference is set up that all the games happen on the same night. So tomorrow night, you'll have all 4 games. Thursday night, we'll have both semifinals. And then depending on YU's performance, whether the game is Saturday or Sunday in terms of the championship. But basically, those games start at 7 o'clock. So an hour before YU tips off, you are going to have all 3 games. So the games will likely be in halftime and leading into the second half. Well, yeah, I remember the years past when there were those upsets. Ariel, we were usually talking about them at the game, being like, "Holy crap! Did you see the score of this? They can actually
Manhattanville beat Farmingdale.
It's going to happen.
It's
going to happen again. I know there will be something that goes on.
Crazy stuff happens in Sky. So yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee that we're playing like Farmingdale's going to like. they're definitely the best team, but who knows? Like crazy
Just win the game that's in front of you.
Exactly.
So let's. I know it's been a while since we've been back. I do want to. I want to give a little bit of a shout out, to the women's team as well, who also suffered through horrendous injuries this season, including two, I believe, if not two of their top four players with catastrophic injuries or injuries that sort of knocked them out this year. It's really a shame in terms of some of the folks, right? Yuval, who's now, who's the leading scorer all time for the Macs to have her senior season. I think big fan of every personally, and in terms of personality, in terms of who they are as people. It's been amazing. I've gotten to know them over the years, and they're all just incredible women. And I think I wish so much for them. And if anyone following this season, to see them at times literally playing with 5 or 6 players on a college team. So if anybody's watching this, I get I would say the pleasure of, that we connect with the Frisch and other places around here in the Jersey area, and some of the MGBL, which is one of the youth basketball programs here. I see some really tremendous boys and girls basketball players, especially on the girls' side. I'm just surprised that Stern doesn't have so many players, ready to play. There's so many fantastic Jewish ball players. Again, maybe they're not going there, or maybe when they go there, they decide not to play anymore. But I really, throw out there that there's a great opportunity. Just speaking from experiences, Jack, I'm sure can talk as well. Playing college basketball is a tremendous privilege, tremendous honor, and really a hell of a lot of fun. And so I'd encourage anybody who has the opportunity to do it to go and do it. I hope with the current situation, we'll see a lot more people attending YU and Stern, a lot more talent coming our way in both sides of it.
I have some news. I don't know if you guys know this, but I was up for assistant coach for the Stern team for this coming year. Bill, who's their head coach, we run clinics together at SAR on Fridays last year in the spring, and he was impressed, I guess, with my energy and whatnot, and I had interviewed for the job, and Bill's like, I think, and I just said to him, I said, I'll be your recruiting guy. Like, I'm already working in alumni, and I know the players, get me in the game, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. For probably the best, is probably they need me more. I don't want to get in trouble now. I think I already said too much, but we'll edit it out later.
But you did have coaching commitments this year, anyways, right? I mean, you had a number of coaching commitments.
I couldn't leave my boys at Ramaz. That's what happened. I have my commitment to Ramaz. But the point the point I'm trying to make is, when I was in that process of interviewing and thinking about taking that step and trying to think as to the number one thing I was thinking about as to why we aren't getting the recruits that the boys are getting with the high level of talented Jewish girls basketball. When they see what one player can do to change a program, or 2 players, right, Ryan and Gabe, or 3 players, Ryan, Gabe, and Simcha, 4 players, Ryan, Gabe, Simcha, Opek, go on and on. And there's so many. She'll have it win state, right? You have Daphna Steinmetz. She has blood in the family, right? We have blood. So what is it? So I've kind of looked into it and talking to these different families. Adam Plax, who's the head coach of girls Calabasas. He was the assistant coach for the girls team in Shahabit. We were Maccabi teammates. He's a good friend of mine. I talked to him. I talked with Shauna. I talked with a few other people. The main thing I was getting back is, it's very tough to hard to sell a top recruit that wins state when you don't have a home gym to play in. And that's the same reason the baseball team can't get recruits, even though there's a lot of great Jews in baseball. As the same team, it would be equally hard to get recruits in basketball if we didn't have the MSAC. I don't know how we could change
as Coach Alfred talks about early on, right? When even YU, the men's team, didn't have a home gym. It's incredibly true. It's a really hard sell. It's something that I think would be incredibly helpful. But to me, some of these things are like, I mean, I don't know if it was true in both your days, but in my day, there was often the joke that, listen, if the YP All-Stars would come out of the base medrash and play, it would actually be a pretty damn good game between the basketball team and the YP team. I think that's changed over time with the level of recruits that we've that we've had. But I like to believe that exists. I don't know. I like to believe that exists even within Stern, meaning it's not the top tier folks that can go to D2, top D3, D1 schools of the folks that we're missing out right now when it comes to men's basketball. It's the religious kids. It's the kids that are not religious, not again, whatever they're practicing. It's the day school kids that are incredibly talented. I mean, watch high school varsity girls basketball just in the tri-state area. It is significant talent pool, and we're not how many of the people on the team today were even part of that group? 2, 3 folks who are playing and were the top on their team. So it's sort of more of the value, right? Like also selling the value even within the own communities to build that up, right? Even the Zevi salmon, right? We're not getting that folks. We're not getting the guys who tried out for the teams in the past, and just interesting to see. And I would love to help.
John, I think you should go. I think you should throw your name in the ring for head coach of Stern. I think you should throw your
Bill's doing a fantastic job. I think I would love to help in any capacity.
Or assistant coach. Sorry, you should be on that. Be on that bench.
No, and for sure, and I think they're tremendous. I mean, again, I've had the privilege again of talking with the ladies now for multiple years, just hearing the dedication, right, that they have to practice. Like I was saying before, it was same for men and women. I mean, these are nightly practices for hours, right, and then staying up and calling family in Israel and having that conversation, sort of going back to life, just come full circle with where we've been. That dedication exists on both sides, and it's really an honor and a privilege to be connected to that. And I'm hoping that people take notice. It started off with a bang, and then unfortunately game one, right? ACL, a lot of expectations, an ACL tear on one of the best players, and then or I don't know if ACL tear, but a knee injury, significant knee injury that limited for the entire year, and then more injuries going forward. So, but excited. I think just when you see them, when you see them on campus, if folks are there, when your kids see them on campus, not just the women, but also the men, I think let's just take a moment, right, as we sort of wrap up, to remember that all of this is against the backdrop, right, of what's going on. All this is against the backdrop, like you said so eloquently, Jack, of everybody having one degree of separation. And while, when the initial horn rings and the jump ball goes up, we have that period of time for those halves to be able to focus on basketball as we will tomorrow night. The reality is once the game ends, right, that's where the minds and hearts go, if not the entire game itself. And I think just really appreciate what the players have been playing through this season, and not just the ones in Israel, but especially those, but really everybody, to be able to keep, right, I know it's tough enough to keep the dual curriculum mindset. I can't imagine what they're going through this season to be able to commit to this, and sort of the mind space that they have. We're all going through it, in our professional worlds as well. So again, excited for the game tomorrow night. I'm going to throw it to you guys for any closing thoughts, and hopefully we'll be able to have a little bit more of these conversations going forward. Appreciate for the fans, people who were able to stay on, but let's make it happen.
Amen.
Amen.
Woo-hoo! Go Max!
What do we got? Closing thoughts, guys, and predictions for tomorrow night. Predictions even about not just the game, but tell me what the crowd. Are we going to see? I've been hearing from a number of people that we need a crowd tomorrow night, right? It's Adar. We got the Misha chant. It's going to show up. We got a lot of things going on, right? Cut on coming at the end of this week, right? There's a lot of things. What is going to happen tomorrow night? What's the YU scene going to be like?
I think it's going to be packed. I think it's going to be a packed house, home game, playoffs. It's going to be playoffs. We're ready for the intensity, baby. We got to bring it. I want, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think, Ariel?
Yeah, I think I hope. Yeah, I've been to one game at home this year, the Farmingdale game. I went to another game, but yeah, I hope they bring it, because I think it's gonna be important. Like last year, again, we had that one home game. I think we were down 12 at halftime. We fed off the crowd, and we came back and took the lead pretty quick. I think that we're gonna it's gonna be important. I think other teams don't play with such big crowds. Again, they do like they would against us. So I think it's important that we have the crowd. And
All right, we'll close with this:
hoping-
over under 6.5 Samet blood relatives at the game tomorrow night.
I'll take the over on that one.
Over. I like it. I like it.
Guaranteed bet.
I like it. It's the easiest. It's the easiest tzedakah money you'll ever win. So take that bet. Enjoy, guys. I hope to see you both tomorrow night, and if not in person, I know we'll be talking about it. But I'm excited to be there. I'll be repping the Bahabatim swag. Get Adar Madness going. I don't think it's time for the Hanukkah shirt just yet. We'll save that for the championships.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree.
Thank you, Mayor, again on the ones and twos. Ariel, Jack, it's just incredible to be reconnected again, face to face, even though the chat's been blowing up behind the scenes all season long, really with not just the basketball stuff, but as we talked about with the humanitarian, just the feeling of connectivity that we have as Am Yisrael, right? Am Echad, Lev Echad that we've been going through, and that continues tomorrow night. And hopefully throughout that unity that we have throughout the remainder of this season and on into next in the conversations that we're having. So appreciate it. Mayor Weasel on the ones and twos as always. And big shout out, guys, everybody on the podcast, and you alluded to this, Mazel Tov to Mayor on his wedding that took place recently at the end of the year in December, and just incredible that we can still celebrate Smachot through this time. It really is something that we need tremendously. So Mayor has definitely shed some light and spread some light through his marriage on all of us. We're really excited for him, and we're excited to get him back in the booth after the long honeymoon, and hopefully we'll keep doing that. So appreciate it, guys. Have a wonderful night, and we'll talk tomorrow about a Max win.
All right, let's go.
Peace.
Go Max, baby.
Let's go Max.